Hi there, it's Pistis, and you're welcome to another episode of SR Medics. So, as a recap, what is SR Medics all about? This platform is dedicated to actually reviewing medical technologies, particularly in the field of radiology, that I think are able to transform how we practice. And so today, I'm going to be reviewing an amazing piece of technology that I've actually been watching for quite some time, and I think it's just about the right time to talk about it. So when it comes to imaging, that is the field of radiology, there is something we tend to ignore sometimes. We think of having the best kind of equipment, the best kind of protocols. We're looking at having the best kind of professionals also to use this equipment. And all of this, of course, contributes to having images of diagnostic quality and also contributes to, proper patient experience. But there is a bit that I think we sometimes tend to ignore when we speak of this whole equation, and that is the importance of actually having comfortable patients who are properly positioned and who have the best kind of experience during their scan. And this is where pearl-technology comes in. So pearl-technology is this company that is focused on redefining, according to them, the standard of care when it comes to patient positioning in radiology. Now, when we look at traditional, immobilization devices, immobilization part, I think one of the things we can basically agree on is they can be sometimes limited in their applications. They come in predefined sizes that have limited manipulations. So for example, if it's a big size and you have a little space to fill when positioning, obviously you're going to have to do a bit of maneuvering to get optimal positioning. But with pearl-tech, the technology is to have something that is adjustable, that is maneuverable, if I can use that word, and can be adaptable to different scenarios. So let's take a look at the site and review some of the devices of interest for me, which will be the MultiPad as well as a CRANIA solution. All right, for a look through their site, you can actually find them at pearl-technology.ch, and quite quickly, once you visit the site, you're able to see what they actually offer. They call themselves the leading manufacturer of patient positioning solutions in radiology. And just as I mentioned, they have solutions that cut across radiology, nuclear med, radiotherapy, and the likes. So basically, immobilization solutions, positioning pads, and more. But I'm just going to, again, just go quickly through to their product section. I'm going to review the product of interest. This is actually the MultiPad for me. So we are going to be reviewing both the MultiPad and then the CRANIA. But let's start with the MultiPad. So as a quick one, the MultiPad is actually designed to be used with MRI coils. So basically, it's a family of products that are actually meant for patient positioning, immobilization, and placement during MRI investigations. So, just a quick look through, you are easily able to see that, it can be used with different kinds of coils, particularly head and extremity coils, also with flex coils and areas, that can be really complex in that sense. And the whole idea is to reduce motion artifacts, have it user-friendly, which I'm going to touch on, and also help with patient's positioning and comfort. So quickly, here is like a look through. This is the MultiPad bendy used for the knee. Actually, as you can see, it's in the knee coil. Also, this is another application of the MultiPad for the shoulder. So the shoulder coil is right there. And then we have the MultiPad. And then we have it also for the hand. So this is an example of the application of the MultiPad for a hand MRI, actually. And here's another one for the extremity, actually the foot. And there's a MultiPad fitting in conveniently in between the space between the lower leg and the coil. And for head and neck investigations as well, you can see the MultiPad being used here to fit in between. So for both sides of the head, we can simply use a MultiPad to augment the positioning that you have achieved, and then of course hang it nicely. So let's look at the real-time video demonstrating how the MultiPad is used, then see its practical application. Again, I do not own copyright to this video. It's actually from the Pearl-Technology websites, their YouTube platform to be specific. And so I just want to use this for demonstration and educational purposes. Let's just take a pause here. So here you have the device, and there is like a tubing that runs into a pump that can be used to inflate this tubing. So basically the way it works is that the pads are inflatable, and this is what really allows you to be able to use it in different scenarios. So you can use it to fill up a space that's is probably wider than you expect it to be, and that's really what makes it really and pretty much flexible. So let's move on. So this is a patient within the head coil, and then there are 3 simple steps of how to use it. So the multipad is actually deflated at this point, and as you can see, it's been put in between the patient's head. So let's take a pause here again. It was inflated, and the multipad has been covered with suitable pad cover. So they actually have pad coverings that are custom fit for this devices. So basically she inflates the pump, and then once the pad has achieved the desirable size, she basically puts it at a very nice position just beside the patient. Once the investigation is done, you can simply deflate the pump and then nicely place it where it will be stored. So it's really simple and intuitive to use, nothing really complex, ready to use, and good for the patient, as well as helping us achieve the desired kind of image quality that we want. Right here, she's disinfecting the multipad. Yeah, that's it. So here are some of the various applications for wrist imaging, extremity imaging, and all of that. Great. So that's the multipad, and I should mention that it actually comes in a variety of options. So we have the multipad slim, we have the multipad bendy, we also have the multipad standard and the multipad plus. So basically these are like different sizes, thickness, and dimensions to ensure that they are well suited for different use cases depending on how large or how little the gap is. And there is also the multipad research kit, which happens to be a combination of 1, 2, 3 multipads. So I think there's a multipad bending in there. I think the sling is also there, and maybe the ear kit, if I'm not wrong. And the whole point of the research kit is particularly for people who are actually researchers, and it gives them more like something that is well suited for what they do in that sense. So that's a brief idea of how the multipad works, and if you agree with me, I think it does what we need it to do. Moving on from this, let's also quickly look through the CRANIA, which is also another solution from Pearl-Technology. Alright, so here's their website, and here's the CRANIA. So the idea with CRANIA is to actually provide immobilization in all 3 axes, the X, the Y, and the Z axis. So the idea is to reduce motion artifacts that can be due to nodding or patient rotation during their investigation. Again, this solution is actually, in a sense, also designed for MRI, particularly fMRI studies, as well as pediatric scans. And just like the multipad, it actually reduces motion artifacts, is user-friendly, and of course, patient comfort during the investigation. Let's also take a look at a product demo and see how it works. You're able to see the CRANIA solution actually, and they describe these little chambers, they describe these little compartments as pearl chambers, which are actually inflatable. So they can be inflated just like the multipads. Position them, of course, fit them into the patient's head, and then they are inflated. And once that is done, it is actually able to restrict motion in all 3 directions. So there was actually a study done to compare the effectiveness of the CRANIA versus conventional foam pads. And interestingly, of course, because the CRANIA is actually designed to be used for research-oriented studies as well as pediatric mobilization. Actually, the study was done, using an fMRI experiment in that sense. And what was found out was that, the bone localization that was gotten using the Pearl-Tech mobilization device was much better as opposed to that was gotten using conventional foam pads. And here is a reference to the study here. I'll also attach a link to that in this video. Let me give my final thoughts on this product. I think it's very much fine. They have, as I said, a broad range of products, and I think you can simply check their site for more information. And the good thing is that I was able to also find out that there are distributors available in South Africa and Zimbabwe, that's in Africa. So if you're based in Africa and you really need to get your hands on this device, then I think you should find it easy to also procure. But I think it will be a good value for money in the long run, because it's a solution that would always be needed in that sense. We always need to immobilize our patients. We always need to make them comfortable. We always need to use positioning aids. So I think it sort of solves a day-to-day problem that we encounter in the department. So should you go for it? I think yes. And also, it has been endorsed by quite a number of companies. For example, InHealth has actually partnered with them. Also, you can check out Gwen's video. So Bak's video also shows us how this device is used, and he also explains how that in their facility they use it for patient immobilization. So I think all in all, it's a good product. There might be questions concerning its costs. There might be questions concerning the pads, coverings, and all, but I think those may be minimal. But aside from that, I think it's a good one, and I would really love to also try it out. So pearl-technology, if you're listening, I would really love to get one and just try it out in my facility as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you had at least an insightful time watching it. Again, if you really love to dive in deep, you can visit their website, as well as check out the video by Bak in the video description. So till next time, have a great one. Cheers.